Good morning. Welcome to Bible study. If you don't have your Bible, if you will pause this video and go and get it, we're going to be using it today as we begin our Bible study. Today, we're going to be using our Bibles to learn how to find things in the Bible. We're going to find the stories that we have been reading and then the stories that we're going to begin studying today. Now, this Bible will look familiar if you've been in Bible study with me at the church on Sunday mornings, because these are the ones we use. If you haven't been, these won't look familiar. But if I open it up, it might look familiar because the inside is just the same as the Bible that you have gotten from the church. It just has this one's an older Bible, so the cover just looks different, but the inside is exactly the same. So we have been learning in Bible study about Abraham and his family. Abraham, his son Isaac, Isaac's son Jacob and Esau. And Jacob had 12 sons, including Joseph. We can find their stories in the book of Genesis, which is the first book in the Bible. The word Genesis means beginning, and the book of Genesis in the Bible tells about the beginning of God's relationship with God's people. That is with Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Esau, Joseph, and his brothers. We're not going to find where all of those stories are, but we'll find the book where you can find them. The very first, see, I've hardly turned any pages. There are a few pages with information, table of contents, but the very first book in the Bible is Genesis. And so can you find Genesis in your Bible? Today, we are going to be reading a story. We're going to meet and begin reading the story of Moses. We can read all about Moses in the book of Exodus. Exodus is the second book of the Bible. The Bible begins with Genesis, and then next comes Exodus. Can you flip in your Bible the way I'm flipping in my Bible and find the book of Exodus? On this first page, we see a little baby in a basket. This is going to be the story that we're reading today. So we have practiced finding the books of the Bible. If you flip to the first page of Exodus, you'll see there's a big number 1 here and then a big number 2 down here. The stories that we're going to be reading today come from Exodus 1 and 2. That's Exodus 1 and 2. So if you want to read the full story in your Bible, that's where you can read it. But I am going to be sharing a good summary of the story so you can know about it in this morning's Bible story video. Before we do, I want to do 2 things. I want to make sure that you understand one of the words that you are going to hear in Bible study this morning. That word is midwife. The word midwife comes from the Old English words that meant with women or with woman. Someone who is with a woman when she gives birth, when she has a baby, is called a midwife. In a time of Moses, when Moses was born, women gave birth at home. There weren't hospitals like there are today. And so when it was time for a baby to be born, several midwives would come to the mother's home and be there with her and help her have her baby. Midwives sometimes gave the mother medicine made from herbs or spices. And after the baby was born, midwives would wash the baby, make sure they were clean, and wrap the baby in a blanket. Today, there are midwives who still help mothers deliver babies. Some of them may help a mother have a baby at home. Some of them will help a mother have a baby at a special birthing center. And other midwives help a woman have a baby at a hospital. Today, midwives will meet with a woman while she's pregnant to make sure that the mother is healthy and that the baby is growing. The midwife is with the mother when the baby is born and helps create a welcoming, healthy, and safe environment for the new baby. So we'll hear about midwives in today's story. The second thing that I want to do before we hear the story is remember what we have learned so far. Even though the last 6 stories we read were from Genesis, they connect with the stories we'll begin today in Exodus. So before we hear today's story, let's remember the stories that we have heard the last few weeks. God was with Abraham and Sarah's family as they traveled to new places, had children and grandchildren, wronged each other, and made peace. God was with them when they made mistakes, while they worked, and when they forgave each other. Over time, their family grew so large that they became a great nation, just as God had promised. Our story takes place in Egypt, where the family had moved during the famine. Brave women from Exodus 1 and 2. For many years, Jacob, his son Joseph, and all of Joseph's brothers and their families lived in Egypt. By the time everyone in Joseph's generation had died, the land was filled with the people of Israel. Now, a new king came to power in Egypt, who did not know Joseph. He said to his people, "The Israelite people are now large in number and stronger than we are. Come on, let's be smart and deal with them. Otherwise, they will only grow in number. And if war breaks out, they will join our enemies, fight against us, and then escape from the land." So the Egyptians decided to wear down the people of Israel. They forced them to work as slaves and build cities for the king. Even though the Israelites were treated cruelly, their families grew larger. The king of Egypt spoke to 2 Hebrew midwives named Shiphrah and Puah. When you are helping the Hebrew women give birth and you see a baby being born, if it's a boy, kill him. But if it's a girl, you can let her live. Now, the 2 midwives respected God, so they did not obey the Egyptian king's orders. Instead, they let the baby boys live. So the king of Egypt called the 2 midwives and said to them, "Why are you doing this? Why are you letting the baby boys live?" The 2 midwives said to Pharaoh, "Because Hebrew women aren't like Egyptian women. They are much stronger and give birth before any midwives can get to them." So God treated the midwives well, and the people kept on multiplying and became very strong. And because the midwives respected God, God gave them households of their own. Then Pharaoh gave an order to all his people, "Throw every baby boy born to the Hebrews into the Nile River, but you can let all the girls live." When one Israelite mother had a baby boy, she hid him in her home. After 3 months, she could not hide him anymore, so she put her baby in a basket. She put the basket among the reeds near the riverbank. The baby's sister stood by to watch over him. Pharaoh's daughter came down to bathe in the river, while her women servants walked along beside the river. She saw the basket among the reeds, and she sent one of her servants to bring it to her. When she opened it, she saw the child. The boy was crying, and she felt sorry for him. She said, "This must be one of the Hebrews' children." Then the baby's sister said to Pharaoh's daughter, "Would you like me to go and find one of the Hebrew women to nurse the child for you?" Pharaoh's daughter agreed. "Yes, do that." So the girl went and called the child's mother. Pharaoh's daughter said to her, "Take this child and nurse it for me, and I'll pay you for your work." So the woman took the child and nursed it. After the child had grown up, she brought him back to Pharaoh's daughter, who adopted him as her son. She named him Moses, because, she said, "I pulled him out of the water." I wonder why Shiphrah and Puah decided not to do what Pharaoh had told them. I wonder how Miriam felt when she saw Pharaoh's daughter come down to the river. I wonder what Pharaoh's daughter thought was in the basket. I wonder what gave Miriam the courage to talk to Pharaoh's daughter. I wonder why Pharaoh's daughter decided to protect the baby. Shiphrah, Puah, Moses' mom and sister were all brave. I wonder if you know someone who is brave. I wonder if you have ever been brave. What do you wonder? As you look back over pictures from today and from the weeks before, wonder about this story. Imagine what it was like being there. Reflect on what we've talked about today, and we'll gather again next week.